Hey, what's going on there, Proton Gamers? Alex Proton of the Proton community. I'm back after a long hiatus, finally bringing you the deck profile of the Bujin Deck like I promised you. This is one of my favorite decks right now, so yeah, I'll explain a little bit about it as we go through. Let's begin. Alright, now to start off this deck, you're going to need 3 copies of Bujin Yamato. Now, this is not one of those negotiable cards which is like, well, you don't really need him, you can splash something in. You need him. All of the Bujin monsters react to him, and he searches them out. So, he is the most important card, and they can only activate when he's on the field, really. So, he's kind of the core card of the deck, and it's really Bujin Beast Warriors, but he's the only Beast Warrior released right now. So yeah, Bujin Yamato. 3 copies of Bujin Crane. Crane is the honest factor of this deck. You pitch him to the graveyard to double the Bujin Beast Warrior's attack when he is in combat. So, I mean, if you're in a bad way, like if you're being attacked by a big beater and you have an 1800, make him a 3600. Because I guarantee you there's not many big beaters that can get around that. 2 copies of Bujin Turtle. Not 2, 3 copies of Bujin Turtle. When a Bujin would be targeted by a card effect, you can just banish this guy to negate that effect. And it's not negate and destroy, so any destruction effect that would come from the card being negated is not applied, because it's not destroying it, it's just saying negate the activation. 2 copies of Quillin. Quillin is your destruction factor. You banish him from the graveyard, pop a face-up card on the field. But once again, you need a Bujin Beast Warrior for this to go off. That's why Yamato is still the central and most important monster in the deck. 2 copies of Fire Fist Gorilla, and 2 copies of Fire Fist Bear. This is your Fire Fist engine. I'm not a fan really much of these guys. Like, when the next Bujin Beast Warrior comes out, I'm going to take 1 Bear and 2 Gorilla out and just replace him with those. I mean, because I don't need Fire Fist in this deck as much. Bear's nice, and I'll have 1 of him, but that's about it. 1, honest, because if you're running a deck where the majority of the basis of monsters is light type, then by all means you're just gonna want 1 of those in there, because I mean it's just like, yeah, he works. So that's the monsters. 2 Fire Formation Tenki. This is your search engine, and you can get it by either attacking with Bear, or destroying something with Gorilla, or drawing into it, or Pot of Duality. 2 MST, because back row is big this format, very big. As I said before, 2 Pot of Duality. This deck is not a special summon deck, people. You need to know that. This is not a special summon deck. It's oriented only to normal summon. It's controlling the field. Now, I may post a video later showing you how to play the deck, or showing me using the deck in a duel, but just keep in mind, you're not trying to swarm the field with this deck, which is why you run this. Kaiser Coliseum. Basically, if you control 1 monster, your opponent can only control 1 monster. So, if I only have, like, a Yamato on the field, and my opponent normal tries to swarm the field, he can't. He can only control 1 face-up monster. This is really good against Blackwings, this is really good against E-Drags, this is really good against all those swarm decks that love to have 12 monsters on the field. I don't even know how that's possible, but they do it anyways. So, this is my response to that. Bujin Carnation, which, when you have no monsters, your opponent has a monster, just take a banished Bujin, take a Bujin in your graveyard, special summon them both. This is the only speed card of the deck, really, and even then I only run 1 copy because it's a control deck, people. Dark Hole, Monster Reincarnation, Book of Moon, Fire Formation Tensu to get an extra normal summon if you really need to overlay. The other 3 are self-explanatory. 2 copies of Bujin Regalia the Sword. When you have a banished Bujin or a Bujin in your graveyard and you need it either in your hand or back into the graveyard, well, this is your reload factor. If you run out of resources, then give yourself a resource, I guess. 2 copies of Horn of the Phantom Beast. Sometimes when the Honest isn't enough, or when the Crane isn't enough, like if you're fighting Obelisk, this just gets you over their attack power, so, I mean, it's like, you need it. 2 D-Prison, because D-Prison works. Banishment's huge this format, so... 2 Mirror Force, because targeting effects are for chumps sometimes. If you're only seeking to target, well, I've got Turtles for that, and then I'm going to side deck 2 Forbidden Lance, so... yeah. 1 Fiendish Chain. Once again, target effects are not as good as they used to be. I really feel that way. They're not as good as they once were. So, Fiendish Chain at 1 because I'm not really going to stall my opponent. I'm either going to bottomless them, solemn them, or just have my 4 Honests. I'm sorry, 4 Honests to stall. Next, we have the extra deck. Not really important. There are some elements that work, but most of the time you're just main decking, so... Gaga Cowboy, Photon Assassin, Maestro. I want another copy of this guy, Starlish Paladin Ammo. 1 Constellar Omega trying to get Batonally. 2 copies of Bujin Tesu Sano Wo. He is probably the only one you'll ever use the most, because he's a search engine for the deck as well. And that is the deck, guys. So, thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend if they're interested in the Bujin deck, that is. Or if they're interested to see what type it runs, you know. Yeah. So, yeah. This has been Alex Proton of the Proton Community, and we'll be trying to resume with some video game stuff, too, because I have a little free time coming up, so you'll see some stuff.